Good morning. Welcome to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation, a community committed to radical inclusion, to feeding the human spirit and healing the world. I'm Reverend Dr. Robin Tanner, a member of the lead ministry team here. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm so glad to be here with you on this day. You know, the sun isn't shining, but the light is pretty bright in this place because of you. We are streaming live from our sanctuary in Summit, New Jersey, located on the lands of the Lenni Lenape. And I invite those of us who are joining virtually here this day to take a moment in the chat. Tell us your name so that we can greet one another. For those of us in the sanctuary, I'm going to invite us to do something radical that we haven't done in a few years. I would ask you to take a moment. Now you're intrigued. You were kind of like maybe not paying attention, just like a regular welcome. But wait, I'm going to be asked to do something I haven't done in years. And that is take a moment and say hello to someone around you. Say good morning and your name perhaps, and welcome them. Thank you so much. You must have enjoyed it a little bit. And I hope those of you who are online have also greeted one another. Today is a multi-generational service. It's our annual bread communion, and I'm going to ask the ushers to come around with our booklets. If you don't have one, you can raise your hand, and we'll make sure that you get a booklet. There are chairs right here up front on the carpet, so if you are having difficulty seeing, you are welcome to come forward and sit up front in those chairs. And we have little packets with all manner of things to help keep you if you need something to keep you in motion as we move together in our service. Jermaine Kripe, a member of our Lifespan team, has readied those packets. So if you need them, let us know. And they're not age limited. So if I weren't up here, I would be taking one of those packets. So just let us know. And after our service, we're modifying our bread communion a little in that we're not going to share our bread in the sanctuary. We're going to actually eat the bread after the service, either in our upper balcony, the Bumba balcony, or if you need to go or you're not feeling so well today, you can get some bread as you leave through our front doors. In our family, we have a practice when we are trying to center ourselves into a space or time. We call it rainbow breathing. And so I'm going to invite you to take a rainbow breath with me, and then I will sound our gong to bring us, our sounding bell, to bring us into center from all the places we've been. So a rainbow breath goes like this. You take a breath in and move your arms up. You might need to watch your neighbors. And out as you bring your arms down to make the rainbow. We've got some enthusiastic rainbow breathers. That is a good thing. You might want to take another breath in as I sound our bell.
To join in singing our opening hymn, which is number 16, Simple Gifts. I invite you to stand in body or spirit and join in singing. Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift to come down where you want to be, and when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and
Good morning, Beacon. My name is Karen. Hi, good morning. My name's Karen Engelmeyer, and my pronouns are she, her. This flame looks as if it is a single flicker, a whole unit, but it is not. This flame, made of particles dancing, some toward the center, others outside, gathering in oxygen to feed the flame for the next moment. It is a community of activity. It is a symbol of our own beacon community. Different temperatures, different stories, different roles to make the flame endure. And this sanctuary, the vessel holding the candle, calling us to be bright this day, to rise up, to shine on. Oh, and please do rise up and sing as you are able. Hymn number 362.
Good morning. I'm Jeannie Siegel, and I am a chaplain here at Beacon. Beacon chaplains extend the spiritual care of our community. And one of the rituals of our spiritual care is our community candle lighting, at which time we light candles of joy, of sorrow, and of gratitude. I want to start out by lighting a candle of appreciation to honor Sebastian Griffith, a member of our youth group who will be moving to Chile shortly. Also today, we will light a candle of sorrow for the many mass shootings throughout our country, for the victims of those shootings and their families and friends. By one measure, 36 shootings just this year alone. We light a candle of gratitude because despite the disturbing narrative of Thanksgiving, it did give us the opportunity to get together with family and friends, to step back a little bit, and maybe overeat a little bit, and also to give thanks for what we have and what we cherish. And lastly, a candle of joy, because need I remind you, winter is coming, and there are plenty of us, me included, who prefer summer, but yet you can't argue with the fact that the winter offers us beautiful, cozy nights, warm sweaters, that smell of fireplaces, and bracing walks, and no bugs. For this and so much more, we give thanks, and we invite you now to come forward and light a candle either here in the sanctuary, in your homes, or anywhere you might be.
is Let Us Break Bread Together, which is something that I used to sing in church growing up. And it turns out that this is a spiritual, possibly created by an enslaved person in South Carolina. So knowing that, and knowing that music gives us a chance to reckon with history, say the words are all the more powerful. Let us break bread together on our knees. Let us break bread together on our knees. When I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, oh Lord, have mercy on me. Let us drink the cup together on our knees. Let us drink the cup together on our knees. When I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, oh Lord, Lord, have mercy on me. Let us praise God together on our knees. Let us praise God together on our knees. When I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, oh Lord, Lord, have mercy on me.
Thank you, Misa. We gather around these tables just after Thanksgiving and the day of mourning. Many of us have been told the story of the Pilgrims and the Native Americans gathering in peace for a shared meal in 1620 as the first Thanksgiving. But we know that this is not exactly the full story. The land we now are on was once occupied by the Nanticoke Linti Lenape, the Powhatan Lenape Nation, and the Ramapo Lenape Nation. Now these tribes live mostly near a small piece of land over in Mahwah, New Jersey. But like the Wampanoag in Massachusetts, the Nanticoke Lenape were driven off their land, which they had lived peacefully on by settlers from Europe. Like many other native tribes and communities across the as-yet-to-be-developed United States, indigenous groups of people were blamed for things that went wrong, without pausing to listen or to consider that these native peoples were not to blame. The settlers destroyed families, lands, and homes of the native people. The settlers rejoiced when they did this and had a feast the day after. Native peoples mourned what they had lost. So the Thanksgiving feast that we have yearly on the fourth Thursday of November has some very troubling historical roots. For Native Americans, it's a day of mourning. Many of them mark this day beginning to dance at dawn to show how they have been resilient and have had the courage to continue their traditions and to still exist. The settlers did not succeed in wiping them out. As Unitarian Universalists, it is critical that we tell the true story behind our celebrations so that we may better commit ourselves to helping others and not harming.
With this historical truth in mind, Jessie Little Doe Baird, who is a citizen of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, vice chairwoman of the Mashpee Wampanoag Tribal Council, and a member of the Wampanoag Women's Medicine Society, shares how the Mashpee Wampanoag are fighting the dissolution of the treaty that protects their reservation right now. She writes, "As citizens of our tribal nations and of America, we will fight this battle as we always have, with dignity, diplomacy, and the knowledge that the story of Native people in America is a story of strength and resilience in the face of challenges. It is a story built around our strong commitment to family, shared responsibility to care for the land, and our sense of obligation to do right by the next generation. It is a story that is woven into the fabric of our American story, with threads that extend beyond the first peoples of America. In these uncertain and divided times, it is a Thanksgiving story rooted in mutual respect, regard, and humanity that can unite all Americans. With this story in our consciousness and our collective history, we celebrate with thanksgiving the resilience of Indigenous people, while also remembering the lessons that are also part of the story. We celebrate, honor, and remember what could yet be, and the community here that acknowledges and respects the first peoples of America. We share now in a ritual of nourishment, connection, and gratitude.
And if you haven't already opened your bread communion booklets, please do. We are on page 2, and you can follow along and read along as we go. And so we ask, why do we have a table here?
We have a table here because we believe in community, in what we have to give and to receive from one another. We are created to be in relationship, and the table is our symbol.
Together we remember. Together we are grateful for a new understanding.
Why do we have a cloth on the table?
We have a cloth on the table because each life is interwoven with every other life. We come here from different religious, ethnic, and socioeconomic backgrounds. The cloth is our symbol of the covenant, a tapestry that binds and upholds the individual threads of our lives. The threads remind us to remember those who have been harmed.
Together we remember. Together we are grateful for a new understanding.
And why do we have a chalice or a candle on the table?
We have a chalice, our candle on the table, because we honor that flame within each of us that is rekindled by the warmth of loved ones around us, and the flame of our faith carried by our spiritual ancestors. This flame reminds us to share new narratives of our history and to draw from many sources as we illuminate the truth with a lowercase t. Together we remember. Together we are grateful for a new understanding. Why do we have flowers on our table?
We have flowers on the table so that we may remember to pay attention to the mystery and beauty of nature which continually surrounds us. Flowers bring color and texture into our homes as nature brings wisdom to our soul. Flowers, born out of earth, reminders to live in closer connection with our earth. Together we remember. Together we are grateful for new understanding.
Ooh, looks like we have 2 chalices or candles. And why do we have a chalice on the table?
We have a chalice on the table because we honor that flame within each of us that is rekindled by the warmth of loved ones around us and the flame of our faith carried by our spiritual ancestors. This flame reminds us to share new narratives of our history and draw from many sources as we illuminate truth with a lowercase t.
Together we remember. Together we are grateful for a new understanding.
Why do we have bread and grape juice on the table?
We have bread and grape juice on the table as gifts of the earth. They speak of the power of growing things. They ask us to wait for the ripening and harvest. They are our symbols of trust and abundance as our earthly origin.
Together we remember. Together we are grateful for new understanding.
And why do we have an empty chair at the table?
Thank you. We have an empty chair at the table to remind us to welcome unseen guests at our table, siblings who share this earth and this life. The empty chair reminds us to give from our fullness to those who have need, so that we may all know justice and peace.
Together we remember. Together we are grateful for the new understanding.
So let us share our bounty this morning by gathering bread originating from far and distant places across the world. And I'll invite you, as you see your bread coming forward, to bring that basket of bread up. And if you left it in the foyer, you can also feel free to go and get it now and bring it in. One of our families, unfortunately, is sick with COVID, so we will be missing one bread at this first service. Bread's made of wheat, which hands have kneaded, proofed, patted, and shaped into loaves, offering sustenance across the globe. I invite forward now bread of einkorn. I hope I'm saying that right. The Griffiths will correct me if not. A wild species of wheat, one of the first to be cultivated over 10,000 years ago, remnants of which have been found in Turkey. Thank you, Nancy. I invite forward the rice cakes, harvested from the steppes of the Andes to lush paddy fields in countries across Asia, with people bending at the waist to pull up the precious grains of a comfort food for many. Thank you, Helen. Bread made from barley grains and grass, which for centuries has sustained people in high elevation, like Tibet, and today is the basis of malt beverages. Oh, I guess we'll have to hold on our malt beverages this morning. I invite forward the matzah, the unleavened bread of freedom, remembered by our Jewish Unitarian Universalists and Jewish friends, and all those who struggle for liberation. These breads, also unleavened, called by so many different names: chapati, naan, paratha, roti, tortilla, grown in the soil of lands in which they are the staple, from India to the countries of Central and South America. Thank you, Komal. Corn, which hands have shucked and shaved off kernels, ground, milled, mixed, and then shaped into cornbread, a gift from the Southern Americas. Ella, come on up with that cornbread. Thank you. You do like cornbread. Did you eat any of it? Any missing? And injera from Ethiopia, Somalia, and Eritrea, sponge-like and risen from the teff flour. Thank you. Wish we had some Ethiopian food with it. Anyone else? As we share these daily breads of many cultures, harvested in the soil of our earth, watered by gifts of cloud and sky, we work today we work toward the day when the abundance of the earth and her harvest is shared equally with all, so that everywhere people are fed and no one is hungry. We'll share our bread at the end of our service, so you will have to kind of yearn for it for the remainder of our service, but we will make sure to taste these breads shortly.
And I invite you to stand and join in singing hymn 349, We Gather Together. That's 349. I invite you to stand in body or spirit, if you would like, as we sing. We gather together in joyful thanksgiving, acclaiming creation whose bounty we share. Both sorrow and gladness we find now in our living. We sing a hymn of praise to the life that we bear. We gather together to join in the journey, confirming all meeting our passage to be a true affirmation in joy and tribulation, when bound to human care and hope, then we are free.
Thank you so much, Lisa and John. This Sunday is the first Sunday of 3 special plate collections honoring organizations that are working to alleviate food insecurity and housing insecurity. The 4 organizations that we have chosen this year for the special plate include First Unitarian's Food Pantry, which is located in Plainfield, SHIP, or Summit Helping Its People, Grace, and Summit Warm Hearts, which is a program of the Summit Interfaith Council. And we have 2 speakers here today to share with us a bit about this important program, Summit Warm Hearts. Ken and Missy?
I got to tell you one thing. You make visitors seem really welcome. I appreciate that. Thank you. I was asked to keep it short in the interest of time. I could go on and on talking about the Beacon Church and Warm Hearts' generosity. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ken Schifrin. I'm homeless, going on 1 year, 9 months in Summit. I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I'm the former chief financial officer of the New York Mercantile Exchange. I'm homeless as a result of bad decisions I've made. We are all hoping to be transitional homeless, to get out of our current situation as fast as possible. We are so appreciative of all the financial and volunteer support you provide for us, but most of all, the general acceptance of us in your community. We thank the Beacon Church for all support of the day program for the homeless, and the support of Warm Hearts for the overnight program. Thank you so much.
It is a true privilege for me personally on a regular basis to get to know folks like Ken and to hear their stories. All of us have a path that we've taken in life. Each of us have unique stories. And Summit Warm Hearts is a way for us to come together and learn each other's stories. In case you're not completely familiar with all the components, there are sort of two halves to Summit Warm Hearts. One half is our daytime program, which happens here at Beacon down in Fellowship Hall. And that operates Monday through Saturday, 9 to 1, and Sundays 1 to 5. It is 100% staffed and served by volunteers, both volunteers that bring meals that we all share together, and everyone really appreciates, including the hosts when there's enough. And, you know, folks come together, share a meal, we talk. We have a shower here at Beacon, so if folks want to shower, they're able to do that. And the other half of Summit Warm Hearts starts in the wintertime. It started this year on November 17th, which is the overnight hospitality. And that this year is shared by 3 different faith communities: Christ Church, St. John's, and Fountain Baptist. That program, because of the overnight piece, does have some financial needs to keep it going through the year. And so that is the piece that we will be supporting today. So I ask you please to, as we give our offering, to give as you can, and if you are able, come and join us as a volunteer as well. Thank you.
In the 1800s, John Godfrey Saxe wrote a story that has been told and retold in many, many versions. And it is designed to share with us the challenges in understanding our different experiences, viewpoints, and even beliefs. With some changes for a contemporary audience, here is the story that you might recognize. Imagine there are 5 people who have never experienced an elephant before. They'd never encountered a creature like an elephant, never read about an elephant. No one has shared with them that such a creature exists. Imagine now a step further, that a famous psychologist, wanting to illustrate a point, gathers a class of students for an experiment. 5 of the students who've never experienced an elephant, don't know what an elephant looks like, sounds like, that such a creature even exists, they're not permitted to see what is in the room while the rest of the class is able to watch. In the room, there is an elephant. Very good. You're following. That's good. They are each placed in different locations around the elephant with varying abilities to experience the creature. One man is in a high chair at the very tip of the head of the elephant. He wears a cloth over his eyes, obstructing his view, and it's hard for him to hear as he's been given earplugs. He's given a nice-smelling perfume just beneath his nose, so he can't detect any odors in the room. all he can feel is the very tusk of the elephant that keeps poking his cheek. And so when the student is asked, "What is it that is in this room?" the man confidently responds, "A spear." A young girl also has her eyes wrapped with a bandana, and she is given the tail to touch. She feels the coarse skin that leads to a tassel of hair. And without even being asked, she exclaims, "It's a rope, of course." "I'm afraid not," responds the psychologist. Do you get it? I'm afraid not. I worked on that for like 6 days. That's such a solid pun. You'll miss my puns one day, you know. A teenager is next placed on a step stool and told not to turn their head at all, but to only look right in front of them. They are placed at the elephant's stomach, and not being able to touch the elephant and only being able to use a close-up view, they say, a little bored, "It's just a gray wall, nothing more." "Nope," says the psychologist. Another student is sitting near the leg, but he must keep his eyes closed. He feels the leg carefully. It's coarse, but thick. It does not move. A palm tree, he guesses. Wrong, my friend. A wise young man, a sophomore in college, in his 20s, is asked to sit on a chair at the elephant's mouth. He wears a pair of glasses that don't allow him to see out. He has earplugs in. The elephant is given a snack of some peanuts and begins to chew with vigor right in front of the man's face. The slop, chew, smack results in bits of peanuts flying at his face, filling the air with a strong odor. Apparently, the elephant has some bad breath this day. The young man leans in despite the spray. The class pauses with excitement, wondering what on earth will he guess is before him. And at last, the man says, "I have no idea what this is, but it needs a breath mint." When I was in high school, I was part of a group that pulled a lot of pranks. It's probably safe to admit it now. I went to a Catholic school that ran all the way from 7th grade through senior year. And in our sophomore year, we discovered a way to take the hinges off the lockers and pull the front door of all of the lockers right off. And so we devised a plan to remove most of the 7th graders' front door to their lockers in between classes, and then stack those doors in a spare broom closet where it would take some time to find them. The 7th graders, you see, were always complaining that they couldn't remember their combination or couldn't get the lock open, and there was all manner of panic all the time. And so we thought we would offer a solution. Our plan went off perfectly. None of us getting caught, all of us operating on hall passes quickly with a flathead screwdriver, stacking almost silently those locker doors in a spare room. Our principal at the time, Father Sheehan, called down the classes one by one to find out who had stolen the locker doors of the 7th graders. At last, after a very long morning, he got to us. By the time he got to us, because we had a little bit of a reputation over the years in that school, he knew that we were the ones who'd done it. He began by asking us, as we kind of nervously fidgeted in our chairs, "My friends, do you know what the word sophomore means?" A long silence followed. Finally, he answered his own question. Wise fool. I don't remember the lecture that followed. After all, it wasn't the last one, or even the longest. But I do remember that illustration, that you could be wise in one way and yet entirely foolish in another. The elephant story is a parable. It's a kind of story with a special meaning. The author Sachs wrote it, of course, to describe the challenge of seeing things from other people's perspectives, and yet how important what another person holds is to our collective understanding of a deeper truth. Now, none of the people alone got the part of the elephant altogether. But if they had spoken to one another, found a way to communicate, even with earplugs and all the manners of barriers to communication, well, they might have had a chance. Of course, in the parable, the elephant is life itself. And we, each of us, are the students. Each of us having our own perspectives, our experiences, our vantage point, dreams and hopes, wants and needs that make us certain that we know what is right in front of us. The trick, of course, is not to diminish these differences, to try to play them down or mute them out, because in fact, even if the conclusions are wrong, they each contain a kernel of the truth. Something to tell us about this creature we are all experiencing, life. Something we're all experiencing for the first and likely last time. So how is it that we do more than just collect information and make solitary conclusions? How can we avoid being wise fools? I'm guessing some of us might have had a holiday where there's a relative or a friend at the gathering that listens maybe to only one source of information. And maybe it's a source that you don't entirely agree with yourself. And maybe they regurgitate this information almost verbatim to the point of your exhaustion. Now, it's easy to make all kinds of jokes about this relative, right? But it's harder to look at the ways in which we can also easily become that person, just from a different vantage point. A wise fool, certain of what we know and what it means for the whole world, while we're only holding the tail of the elephant. I went 2 days ago with my mom and 2 of our children to see Wakanda Forever in the movie theater. Now, I was a little bit nervous, to be honest with you, about being in a movie theater again, a little because of COVID, but even more so because of the violence that has happened recently with shootings across the country. It made me nervous to be in a public space with so many people. But Grandma was in town, and the tickets had been purchased, and so we were off. Now, without spoiling the plot too much, the central character in this second Wakanda movie has a very hard choice to make. And at the time that she's trying to decide what the right thing to do is, she's filled with rage and grief, because someone that she trusted has hurt someone that she loves, and all she wants is revenge. All she can see in that moment is a gray wall. It's impossible for her, with the intensity of emotion that she has, to see the whole creature. Now, this character is not just any ordinary person. She's a leader of a whole people. And so we know in the story that if she seeks revenge, well, it impacts many, many people who will be drawn into a great and protracted war. Just as she is about to seek her revenge, even filled with the anger and the lament, she hears her mother's voice, her mother asking her to stop, to not seek revenge for her sake or anyone's sake, and to be a leader of her people. Because of that moment, because of her ability to listen to someone who had the tusk of the creature on their cheek, she stops. She's still angry. She still wants revenge. She's still human in all the ways that any of us are, but she stops. And war is averted. Now, I'm sorry for ruining Wakanda forever for all of you listening. It's unlikely, right, that we're ever going to be at the edge of a war where our action will control all of the future of humanity. And yet, our actions do ripple out far beyond just ourselves. And each and every week, we are given countless opportunities, maybe not to avoid massive collisions and wars, but small aggressions, small battles that ripple out. We do have the power to decide how to treat a sibling or a parent or a complete stranger. And sometimes when these people treat us with complete indifference or hurt our feelings or spew out narratives that we know are wrong because we've got the tail, we have a moment then to consider what is happening from their perspective, to invite a larger narrative. It's not to excuse harm that is done by others, but it is to say that the greater war we are in will not be solved by shouting or shutting down the kernel of truth that our neighbor has. We are, in fact, nourished by diversity. And we have to develop a countercultural practice, one that is precious here at Beacon in our community groups, of deep listening to the other vantage points, in the hope that someday we might gain the wisdom of the whole creature. Pope Francis, who is increasingly struggling with physical health recently, as you may know, shared this wisdom in a public address the other day. You can have flaws, he said. Be anxious and even be angry, but do not forget that your life is the greatest enterprise in the world. Being happy is letting the creature that lives in each of us live free, joyful, and simple. You have the maturity to be able to say, I've made mistakes. It's having the courage to say, I'm sorry. It's having the sense to say, I need you. It's having the ability to say, I love you. May your life, he concludes, become a garden of opportunities for happiness, that in spring he may be a lover of joy, and in winter a lover of wisdom. Compassion, beloved, is drawn from many tributaries of connection. It is in the asking of others that we find not only the perspectives we have missed, but something even greater. We find beneath the violence and the fear and the hurt and the divisiveness and the hardness in this world that daily pushes us deeper into our solitary existence, that beneath all of that there is a spring of joy that we long to drink from each of us. Regardless of the particularities, there is a unity of spirit, as one minister of this community taught us. When we can tune into the awareness of the differences beyond our own story and the kernels of truth in those differences, we begin to perceive that all along the creature was trying to communicate, even as we wise fools were shouting about ropes and walls and trees and spears. As we continue in a most charged time in our country, in a season that can be filled with frenzy and complexity of people and relationship, may we also journey with a humility that allows our hearts to listen, to listen to the joy all around us, to open up our hands and our souls, to be nourished by all that we do not know and the teachers who rise up in our midst. So may it be.
Thanks so much to everyone who helped lead the service today, and also to John O'Neill for your amazing musicianship, and our AV team that helps us reach people in the room and outside of the room, our ushers, our greeters, the bread givers, and especially you, the congregation. Would you please stand in body or spirit? We're going to sing a song called Where You Go, I Will Go. And because it's not in the hymnal, I'm going to read the words, which are, where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. And we're going to repeat each section a few times. So if it's not quite familiar the first time, you always have another chance. So this is Where You Go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, my divine. You're divine. You're divine, my divine. You're divine. You're divine, my divine.
That in a spray bottle for those days when you're just not feeling it. Ooh, day happy baby. May the goodness and steadfast love be made known to all of you this week. During this season when Thanksgiving is so popular, may the blessings you take time to reflect on be reminders that goodness is never in short supply, and that we have all the countless reasons to be thankful. So when you're tempted to allow your days to be defined by the things that would lead you to wander from your morals, may you find time to pause and center yourself and redeem your troubled days. May your heart be filled with an overwhelming sense of peace and an abundance of gratitude, and may you rest in the assurance that you are loved completely, uniquely, and beyond measure. May this love kindle within you a yearning to reach out to those who need you, whose beloved faces you can picture in your mind's eye, as well as strangers whom you haven't met yet. May you work for justice, cling to kindness, and walk humbly with your fellow wanderers in your midst. May you live for one another like never before, with open hands, minds, and hearts. Not just during the short days of Thanksgiving or this holiday season, but for each and every day you have to come. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.